Welcome. You ever hear of Small Business Saturday? It's a marketing initiative created and promoted by American Express to encourage holiday shopping on the Sunday after Thanksgiving in the U.S. during one of the busiest shopping periods of the year. That comes after Black Friday. But here in Corpus Christi, some small businesses are being impacted by the hints of Small Business Saturday. How's that affecting where you're shopping at? Well, you're about to see the impact that's happening here in Corpus Christi, to where these small businesses are impacting on that Saturday. And maybe then you'll know. Here's Madeline Solis.
It's a day to really focus on what small businesses do for our communities. So it's not just supporting, ourselves and our families. It's really talking about the revenue, the tax revenue generation that comes back into our communities and stays in our communities.
Owner of Made in Corpus Christi, Nikki Rioja, says that Small Business Saturday landing in the middle of holiday season is a good way to remind people of the locally owned businesses in the Coastal Bend.
So it's imperative that people support small businesses all year long, but especially now, because a lot of us really plan our entire years around the holiday season and having that influx in customers.
Nathan Kolonovsky is the owner of Bori Craft Meats and Goods near downtown Corpus Christi. After working 30 years for a large company and now operating his meat market for over 2 years, he's come to realize just how important small businesses are for the community.
We believe that there's a lot of opportunity in this area. That's why we invest our time in our efforts in this area. And it actually came together with the location and something we're passionate about, and something that we can help build and nurture the community in an area that's often overlooked here in Corpus Christi.
Wholesale manager Jordan Medina took over the ownership of Driftwood Coffee Company with his wife 4 years ago. Driftwood started as a roastery 10 years ago out of the original owner's home. Today, Medina says the community's continued support of their business has allowed them to succeed with a storefront and cafe.
Small businesses are really the heart of what a city is and what a town can be. And I think that when you support locally and small businesses, you start to feel the heart of Corpus and start to feel the love that we have for this place.
Medina says the connections he and his team get to make with the community is what makes owning a small business in Corpus Christi worth it.
We really want to make an impact in the community that we're in, and knowing them, getting to know them, knowing their story, and just being a part of their daily routine. I think it's such an amazing thing that we get to do as small businesses.
That's really a great way to start supporting small businesses, just by supporting the community. And that's what every community wants, is to help support one another. In other words, helping them out by attending a small business. So if you own a small business, you can be supportive.
If you...
I'm not going to do that story here. But local shops are doing it, and the way to be supportive on Small Business Saturday is just to be very supportive of your community. Are you planning on putting up that Christmas tree? Well, what if you were to realize that if you don't have fire sprinklers, your Christmas tree could be caught on fire? Take a look at this.
This is what could happen in your home during the holiday season. Your living room up in flames, set off by a knocked over candle and an artificial Christmas tree. The home didn't have sprinklers. Now watch the same video again, but this time side by side, as a living room that did have sprinklers.
This is what these black trees are. That's your fire sprinkler head activating, sensing 155 degrees of heat and heat only, knocking the fire down.
This was a safety demo put on by professionals to create awareness and show the dangers of not having working sprinklers in the home, even though the smoke detectors work and went off. Experts urge families to have an escape plan and take measures to prevent fires in the first place.
Again, what this is doing is giving you time to get in, you time to get out. Fire department gets there to a house that's in a much better shape than it would be without fire sprinklers.
An average of 770 fires are caused by Christmas lights every year, according to the National Fire Protection Association. This is Inside Edition Digital.
Wow. So next time you plan on lighting that Christmas tree, try to make sure you understand these safety precautions and have smoke detectors and a fire sprinkler or extinguisher in your area at the right time. Without those smoke detectors, you can get hurt. A family member, some old friends of mine, they've lost their house. Common sense needs to say have a smoke detector working in every house. Make sure it's working. Test it out once a year and vacuum it to eliminate bugs and dust. And change out the batteries. Don't turn off the alarm. I mean, when I always do, I hear the beep, 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 and all of a sudden no, don't ever do that. If you watched the last episode, one of my few episodes about we did that, saw that 2020 report all about the fire sprinklers, you will know what I'm talking about. And believe me, it ain't worth a sight to see. Alright, the other woman. Maybe she's out looking for a date. But what if you would have realized that the other woman is spying on you? The person that you are cheating on, that you're cheating on with your wife. Coming up, you'll meet that woman and you'll go undercover as this woman exposes the cheating husband. Chris Hansen has more details. Stay with us. The other woman. She may not be that pretty girl walking across the street, but who knows? The other woman is spying on the cheating husband. Tonight, you're gonna meet this woman and go undercover as she tries to expose the cheating husband. That's who the other woman is. Here's Chris Hansen.
So, yes, I'm special. Are you married?
No. You're watching a clothing commercial.
Can I tell you, the relationship just didn't work out.
Bingo. Sorry. Not as sorry as this woman is to hear that her boyfriend flirted with a woman she hired to test his fidelity. But real life isn't so different.
Are you married? You're single? There we go.
Teresa makes her living flirting on behalf of suspicious wives and girlfriends. She's a full-time professional decoy.
So I try to get eye contact immediately. And if I get a response from his eyes, I know that the doors are open for conversation.
It's almost impossible to measure how much cheating is actually going on. Various studies show that up to 30% of women and up to 50% of men stray at some time in their marriages.
My main priority is to get that question out. Are you married? Are you single? Do you have a family? And the conversation snowballs from there.
Teresa says it's all acting, but she gets a lot of her inspiration from her personal experience with the pain and anger of infidelity. A few years ago, Teresa was a model.
She's from Brooklyn, New York, Teresa.
And a beauty queen. And all the while, she thought her loving boyfriend of 8 years only had eyes for her.
He wouldn't do that to me. He loves me too much.
But there were a few red flags. She says he started coming home late, with alcohol on his breath. There was less sex, new clothes, and cologne. So she illegally eavesdropped on his phone, and 16 hours of recorded conversations later, she found out he was indeed cheating on her. She was devastated and furious. She vowed revenge on cheating men everywhere.
There's a lot of denial on the woman's part when she thinks he's cheating, so I thought I'd want to help them get through it.
She got the idea of how she could help through a television program. That's how she first heard of an agency called Checkmate.
They know that their husband or boyfriend may be fooling around, but they want us to go out there and make it beyond a reasonable doubt.
Jerry Pallas is the private investigator who runs the agency. He's carved a niche in what can be loosely called premarital and marital spying. You make your living because people cheat.
Yeah, you could say that. I guess I'll say it. Yeah, we do. We watch in the doorway, right?
Jerry uses two basic methods to catch the cheater.
Yeah, he weighs
about 30.
Videotape surveillance, costing the client a couple $1,000. And decoys, $750 per job.
We'll send out a model or actress, and she'll try to engage him in conversation and see where that conversation goes.
don't you take the chance that maybe this guy is just being a little flirtatious?
I mean, if you are involved with someone, you are married, you have children, you should say that. If you don't, I think you're predisposed probably to fool around with the girl that's in front of you.
The guy who falls into the decoy trap is likely to say, this is entrapment. I was set up.
This is not entrapment. Just because a door opens doesn't mean you get someone through it.
Teresa has been working with Checkmate for almost 4 years now, doing several decoy jobs each month. She's heard all the lines. How many times do you approach somebody who you know is married, and they lie, they say they're not married?
Most of the time. I'd say 9 out of 10 times.
And you're recording this?
Of course.
Secretly?
Of course.
So Dateline spent a day with Teresa on the job. First, a telephone conversation with Jerry for details on the assignment.
You're gonna have my wire?
Another husband suspected of cheating.
54th and 3rd, 5 o'clock. Come on. Not just make up my whole story. Driving to the destination, and by the time I get there, I'm all ready.
Do you ever feel bad for the guy?
No. I never feel bad for the guy. I do feel bad for the women. They don't believe in themselves anymore. They start thinking they're crazy.
A person from the agency always accompanies the male or female decoy on a job. Today, Jerry will be there.
Well, I'm meeting him in a bar today. I'll watch everyone who comes in. And once he comes in, I'll start my role play.
And Dateline's hidden cameras are rolling as Teresa waits at the bar. Time ticks by slowly. She knows the target comes here every Friday night. After about an hour and a half, he arrives with a male friend. A conversation sparks almost immediately. Teresa tells him she's waiting for a girlfriend. Teresa goes right to work.
I've been close, you know, a few times. I've met girls that like real close, but always at the last minute. I just can't see it. I don't fuck a lot of girls. The girl's got to be a solid girl.
In reality, this man is a father of 3 who's been married for 8 years. After 20 minutes of chatting, he asks for Teresa's phone number. And when she's apprehensive, he enthusiastically encourages her. Finally, she gives him a fake number. The man makes it very clear he'd like to see Teresa again. And it's all captured on audio tape for his wife to hear.
It went very well. Basically, he told me he wasn't married. He gave me his number. He wants to go out tonight.
Yeah, he worked for you, hook, line, and sinker.
Then it's time for what Jerry says is the hardest part, calling the wife. She told Jerry she's already caught him cheating once.
We did that case tonight, and it looks like he went for the bait.
The agency made a few bucks. The client got the answer she'd been dreading. And Teresa got a reminder of what some men can be like.
He can't be trusted. He's a dog.
The man's wife did confront him with the audio tape, and now the couple is trying to work things out. As for Teresa, after what she's seen, it's hard for her to believe in love again, but she's back with her boyfriend. She says she hopes their relationship will lead to marriage, but she's not in any rush.
And no one is even in a rush. So how can you tell whether your wife or husband is cheating on you? When we come back, when we return, we'll tell you the signs and we'll base some common sense. So stick around, will you? And stay with us. We're talking about cheating wives and cheating husbands. Is it wrong or is it right when someone is cheating on you? Now, we saw a Dateline report with a girl named Teresa who went undercover in looking for someone who was cheating. It was one man who said he wasn't married, but the wife confronted him. Now they're working things out. How can you tell whether your husband or wife is cheating on you? Well, there are some answers out there, and here are the top 11 signs from verywellmind.com to help you out. We'll put down all the details in the description, as well as, because I'm not scripted. Because let me tell you, these are the signs that you need to look out for whenever your partner may be cheating on you. And I want you to listen very carefully and get out a pen and pencil. Get out a pen and paper and start listening real good and write this down. You ready? Alright. They may avoid communicating with you. They may changes to their look and personal interests. They are dishonest and avoid seeing you. They've stopped having sex with you and make noticeable changes. There are unusual changes on your cards. They avoid access to the use of their technology, such as cell phones, laptops, computers, everything. The other issues include the changes in communication, increased interest in appearance, more time spent away from home, attitude changes, lying, avoidance. They accuse you of cheating, indifference, changes in your sex life, the money issues, and the change in the technology use. The changes in communication is just as basically as like, that's the following signs of stonewalling, which involves refusing to listen to. They should basically ignore what you say. The change in the subject, avoid an uncomfortable topic. Storms off that word is just like, they forget you. Comes up with the reasons why they can't talk. Refuses to answer questions. Nope, ain't gonna answer that. Makes accusations rather than talking about the current problem. Uses to miss their body language, so just rolling or closing their eyes. Just like, oh God, I don't want to listen to this anymore. Get me out of here. Acts in a passive-aggressive manner, stalling or procrastinating to avoid talking. Moving on to increase interest in appearance. Dressing nicer than normal, wearing different style of clothing, and wearing clothing you don't often see. Something like this. It may be a style, like a suit, but there's a difference. And there's more time to spend away from home. Like if you have kids, that's the big issue. If you have kids, you don't spend time because you're spending your, because most of the husbands are spending their time away from the kids and the wife and going out partying with their friends, not knowing that something else is happening. Here are some things that you need to watch out for, and especially for women, so I hope you're writing this down. Your spouse picks up a new hobby that requires a few hours of commitment per day. When you ask about their time away, they're vague about what they're doing. When you show interest in their new hobby, they brush you off. Your mate is working longer and longer hours at work. Probably overtime. The attitude changes. These are some things you got to listen for. Your spouse exhibits signs of low self-esteem. You notice your spouse has a sense of confusion about him or herself. Your spouse seems to want danger or thrills in their life. Your spouse is more negative than before. Your spouse becomes more critical of you. Your spouse seems to be picking fights more often. Your spouse gets very defensive if you mention infidelity or affairs. When you ask for reassurance about cheating, you do not feel satisfied with the response. Then there's the big one. The lying. This is the big one because lying should not have been number one here. If you find out that your husband is lying saying, I was out, we're going to show you an Instagram reel in just a minute. Because I've been watching several times, you know, we'll show you an Instagram reel in just a minute. We'll talk about this reel in just a minute. We'll waste some common sense in just a minute. I mean, like if they say, oh, I'm just meeting a friend from work. I mean, if they say, oh, I'm just meeting a friend from work. I mean, if you're out with your wife and some of your old friend runs into you saying you want to get back together, so and so, this and this. I mean, this is not the whole Drake, Josh, club, bullcrap, whatever. The lying thing is just dishonesty. Dishonest husbands or dishonest wives. You find your partner's been lying to you about the variety of things. When you ask your partner questions about who they were with or what they were doing, their nervousness increases. Your spouse's friends seem anxious around you, and your spouse seems more effective. Now move on to the advance. Studies have found that people who have cheated on their parents and their partners tend to be better at detecting lies and deception themselves. The avoidance. If your partner is feeling avoidant, it can't be a sign of infidelity. That's one of the signs. The avoidance strategies may indicate that your spouse may be cheating. And You feel as if you're being avoided. They don't want to go places or do things to do anymore. Your partner abandons religious faith. Your spouse is wandering and seem out of control. Now this is the big one, and all talk shows are doing this. See this happening. They accuse you of cheating. If your spouse is cheating, these are the signs that you need to write down right now. You face consent cheating accusations from your spouse. Every time you question them, they start to question you instead. It's like, where were you last night? Yeah, where were you last night? When they engage in questionable behavior, they insist that you are the one who's being shady. Detective Shades. The indifference. If your spouse constantly accuses you of cheating, even when you're not, it's giving me a sign of something that's called emotional abuse. The indifference. When your spouse allows apathy or lack of interest in things that they used to love, communicate with them to see if there's another reason for the change. Communicate with them for changing of engagement. But if you also suspect infidelity, these changes may be a fundamental indication of the affair. Your spouse seems bored with you, their job, and their children. Your spouse has become lazy, especially around the house. Your spouse doesn't show any jealousy about you, no matter what you say. And your spouse is indifferent to family events like birthdays and holidays. Sorry, honey, can't spend Christmas with you. I'm going out on the road with my band. You're gonna miss your family. And this is the other issue here. The changes in your sex life. The signs of this may include of an affair. There are considerably less intimacy or connection in your relationship. They're practically non-existent because of your sex life, and there's lots of new things introduced in sex that were never before. You learn that you have a sexually transmitted infection and you're not straight. In other words, from a smart mouth, you didn't use a condom. Money issues. Almost all marriages undergo some kind of financial stress at one time or another, but you may want to investigate certain money issues when you notice them in your marriage. Signs of cheating which watch for include you notice changes in your credit card statements that don't make sense. Money becomes more of an issue between the two of you. Your spouse stops planning for large purchases, a trip, buying a house, renovation, etc. A 2021 study found that financial problems are one of the main predictors in marital infidelity. And we'll talk about more of the marriage problems solutions in a future episode. Moving on to a change in technology use. That's also a sign of infidelity. It's often revealed online. In fact, internet infidelity is a common phenomenon. Your partner's cell phone may also reveal signs of cheating, such as your spouse's text and phone messages, meaning they're talking to other male and females. That's when you know they're cheating. Maybe it's an old friend from school, maybe it's someone you don't know. Talk to them, communicate with them, try to work things out. We'll get to that common sense in just a minute. A change in technology use can also signal infidelity. These are changes you may warrant concern. I want you guys to write these down immediately. Your spouse is suddenly unreachable at certain times of the day. Your spouse changed their password and won't share it with you. Your spouse is always texting or sneaking off to take phone calls. You notice cloud sharing has suddenly been switched over to on-off devices. Your spouse stops using shared devices altogether. Your spouse reduces their use of social media. Your partner clears the browser history on the home computer. Your spouse's fitness tracker shows exercise at odd times and hours. And if you destroyed your computer, your wife may know someone who works as a computer technician, knows how to fix it. Now, how do you deal with a lying spouse who just said, I didn't cheat? Well, for one thing, go on a talk show like Kamara and go on a talk show. You want to do that? Fine. Your point of view is to attend or consider individual counseling to help process visual behaviors like hurt, shock, fear, depression, and mistrust. You're more likely experiencing. There's a few ways. We'll talk about all the affairs. We'll talk about emotional affair and online affair in a future episode. But I really want to get into the cheating thing. Because that's why, I mean, if you watch Maury, okay, there was this guy who denied the baby because it was too short. But he brings up other accusations saying, like, I'm cheating, like the woman was cheating on this and this. I mean, if you watch those Secret Maury episodes to where they tell the secret, like, honey, I have something very important to tell you. I cheated on you with your aunt. That's basically it. On my show, Secrets and Lies, you may tell a secret, you may tell a lie. But, I mean, I'm always all about helping out. I mean, you watch Kamaru and you had a secret to tell, a shocking secret, your wife may know about it. So, if you're prepared, if you want to sit there and say, okay, I'm going to clear with my wife and start telling her the truth, start realizing that there are repercussions. Like, okay, what's going to happen if I tell her the truth? Is she going to leave me? Are we going to get a divorce? Is she going to are we going to work this out together? Am I going to lose my kids? I mean, if you start saying, I'm going to start telling the truth, you got to be prepared for what road you're going to be on. I mean, if you're going to come to a fork in the road, you go left, you go right. If you go left and try to hide it, you're obviously going to get away with it. But if you go right and start telling the truth, you got to realize there are repercussions you're going to realize there are repercussions you're going to have to face. And then when you come to that, when you turn that right side of the road, you're going to end up saying to yourself, I did the right thing, and I paid the price. These other signs, I mean, there are lots of other signs. I mean, you may say, well, we work this out, but a lot of other times it's just as simple as, you know what? We can't work this out because of what you did. You've been lying to me all these years, so-and-so, this and this. And, look, I've had a girlfriend back in 7th grade until I saw another girl, and I've learned that you cheat on someone and fess up to the truth may hurt. I mean, there's an old Randy Travis song that says, the truth is lying next to you. We're not going to play you that because I could get copyrighted again. I mean, rumors may start flying like, oh, he had an affair, this and this and this and this. We will deal with affairs and scandals on a future episode. We'll probably deal with that next week. We'll deal with affairs and scandals on Monday. But the cheating issue is just not similar to an affair. I mean, the difference between cheating and an affair, cheating can be a one-on-one fling, while an affair is an ongoing relationship outside a committed relationship. An affair is a type of cheating that involves passionate, emotional, and physical attachment. In other words, if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's like physical attachment is like scandalous. I mean, think of Monica Lewinsky. Think of these affairs, these celebrity affairs. I mean, we watch the news and we hear about all these scandals that are happening or affairs. I mean, how can you handle an affair? I mean, the question you have to ask yourself is, would I stay with my partner, would I stay with my husband if he not only cheated, but fathered a child with the mystery? That's the question you have to ask yourself. Nothing ever makes sense. I mean, if you are going to take this risk and start saying to yourself, I'm going to go see another woman, I mean, I'm going to play you a clip from a girl named Sabrina. Sabrina Brew. Sorry. I watched this clip several times. Several times. And believe me,
Sabrina.
What are you doing in this neighborhood? Hey, Allie.
Hey, Sabrina. How was your visit to the dentist?
It was... Josh? Hi.
Hey, Sabrina.
What are you doing in this neighborhood?
I'm meeting a friend for a drink.
Oh, who's the friend?
My coworker, Ashley.
Ashley? Well, when I see Kate for brunch this weekend, I'll be sure to tell her that I ran into you on your way to go see Ashley.
Well, she knows.
Yeah, I'm sure she does know. Where are you guys going, like a bar?
We're going to Vaughn.
Vaughn, I know Vaughn. I'm actually close with the bartender there. He works Mondays, so I'll be sure to text him later tonight just to check in, see if he has anything to report back.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, it was so good to see you, Josh. Just remember, I have eyes everywhere. Bye, have fun.
and I believe you know what I'm talking about. I don't even need to say it. I don't even need to talk. Just I'll let the alarm do the talking. If I had a partner by my side, they would do all the talking. They would just listen. They would step in front of the camera and tell y'all what I think. But I'm not a doctor. I'm not an expert at all this. But let me tell you, if I were and I saw people cheating, I would just say, you know what? Try to work this out. I'm gonna put cameras in your home. Try to work this out. And if you can't, I recommend you guys separate for a week to try to work this out. You can't work this out to separate for a week or just file a divorce. I mean, think about. Well, we're not going to go into the Schofield case. We've already scratched. The surface. The damage is done with the Schofields. But the thing is, it's like if you can keep a secret. If someone tells you to keep a secret, and the secret is that cheating on Sabrina or whatever, you gotta try your best to keep the secret, or just trust your gut. Just the bottom line here is just trust your gut. If you cheat on someone, find the courage in your gut to tell the truth. Tell the truth. The truth never hurts. I mean, you can't handle the truth. That's how it is. You can't handle. That's what the old movie was like. You can't handle the truth. That's those 5 words. If you can't handle the truth, then don't tell it. You want to sit there and lie, okay. What I've learned is that when you choose the behavior, you choose the consequences. Every behavior that you choose has some consequence. That's what I've learned throughout my years of growing up on this planet and in this state and in this city. And believe me, once you get a girl and you start saying, I'm going to get a girl and start hooking up with her, you need to realize that she's the only one for you and the only one you will love. And if you go into marriage, the same thing. First comes love, then comes marriage, and then there's not a dad changing a freaking diaper. Ladies, this is what's out there, ladies out there. If your husband is very, very suspicious, if you're very suspicious your husband is cheating on you, find some help. If you want a wiretap, you want to put a wire tracker on your husband's phone, go right ahead. You want to go undercover as a decoy, then go right ahead. If you find out, if you want to figure out how to work this out, try talking, try communicating. If you can't work it out, go to a marriage counselor. They will help you out. They're the best ever. Try researching some marriage counselors in your state or your county. And remember, then they'll help out any way they can. Oh my goodness. Alright, last season we showed you the ketogenic diet. Now there's an update from back in 2004 about what happened. Coming up, we're going to revisit the report with Jim Abrams and Charlie. How are they doing now? will tell you. Stay with us. Last season or two, we showed you a report about a medical mistake, about a medical mystery that no doctor could ever solve. It was one discovered by one Jim Abrams, the former Hollywood director. He will tell you that his filmmaking is not his greatest success. He was far proud of how he helped his son overcome a devastating disease. But this father discovered a treatment that could help transform not just his son's life, but the lives of other children as well. We showed you what happened with Charlie Abrams, and you're going to hear what happened after that original report aired. Here's John Larson.
Action! Patrol boats,
Right away back. Wait till you hear patrol boats.
Jim Abrams made some of the most successful film comedies of the 1980s.
Okay, let's print that. We'll do one more like that.
His movies include Airplane, Naked Gun, and Hot Shots. But the fun stopped for Jim Abrams 9 years ago. He was finishing his latest movie when suddenly his 1-year-old son Charlie began having unexplained seizures.
On his first birthday, I was pushing him in a swing out in the front yard, and I noticed his head kind of went like that. He threw his arm up in the air.
Jim and his wife Nancy took Charlie to a neurologist who did a series of tests on Charlie's brain. The test confirmed the doctor's suspicion. Little Charlie had epilepsy. But nothing prepared the Abrams for the nightmare to come. Charlie began having many more seizures. Sometimes he'd have 100 seizures a day.
Another seizure then.
Sometimes Charlie would just go limp.
Another drop seizure.
Other times he'd shake.
Stiff as a board right now.
The worst kind of seizure.
Charlie.
The Abrams brought Charlie to Dr. Donald Shield, a nationally recognized expert at UCLA, who tried to control Charlie's seizures with anticonvulsant drugs.
And then we lost control, and nothing was working. I think he probably had all of the available medications, and we were starting to look at some of the more experimental kinds of medications.
Even worse, Jim Abrams says the drugs had a terrible side effect. They were turning his son into a zombie.
You pour the drugs down the child's throat, your child's throat, despite the fact there's something inside you that says, wait a minute, this can't be right. You know, Charlie was so loaded. At times he just lived in a car seat. He was so blotto from these drugs that he was essentially non-functional.
This little girl is about to have a bad epileptic seizure. Now, while you're watching this, consider this. New miracle drugs control these terrible seizures in most of the 750,000 children in this country who suffer from epilepsy. But for this girl, and for 150,000 kids like her, drugs simply don't work. The Abrams feared Charlie was one of these most unfortunate children.
After the first drug, then there is only a 10 to 15% chance that the second drug will work, regardless of what that drug is. And the percentages drop from there.
Even more frightening, if left unchecked, these seizures can damage their brains, retarding these children forever. So the Abrams were racing against the clock. They had to stop Charlie's seizures before it was too late. They allowed doctors to operate on Charlie's brain, but the seizures continued. They even tried a faith healer, but that didn't work either.
This house was filled with tears. All of us, all the time, cried. I mean, Charlie's brother and sister literally, for months, cried themselves to sleep at the foot of his crib because they just had some sort of instinct that they wanted to be near him.
His son was slipping away. His whole family was in anguish, and the doctors had no answers. Jim Abrams was desperate. He decided to start his own study of epilepsy. He attended medical lectures and read every book he could find on epilepsy treatment. And one day in a medical library, he found something no one had told him about. A book describing a diet that supposedly cured half of the epileptic kids who went on it.
And it was like dumbfounding. How could that possibly be?
The book claimed that experts here in Baltimore were perfecting something called the ketogenic diet, a diet consisting largely of something most doctors tell us to avoid: generous helpings of fat. Against his own doctor's advice, Jim brought Charlie to Johns Hopkins Children's Center, where he found the man who wrote the book, Dr. John Freeman. There, they also met a 72-year-old dietitian, Millicent Kelly, who had been working with the diet for 40 years.
So this is the one he uses, even though this has a much better flavor.
Now retired and a part-time consultant, Millie had designed meals that gave kids just enough protein to grow on, combined with lots of fat, bacon, butter, and heavy whipping cream. The families have to measure every bite of every meal precisely, or else Millie says the diet won't work.
Whatever happens there to cause that seizure just doesn't happen anymore. And they become seizure-free, and that's a remarkable thing.
Right.
Finally, it was Charlie's turn to try Millie's diet. He was taken off all medications and fed mostly fats. His father says it was a miracle.
His seizures started to diminish immediately. I mean, it was pretty dramatic. You could hold him and you could kind of feel them be less intense. And within a couple days, he stopped having seizures completely.
Sometimes there is truth in the old ways, even if we don't understand them.
Dr. John Freeman supervises the keto diet at Johns Hopkins.
Do you fully understand how it works?
You have no clue how it works. And that's part of the reason it hasn't been accepted in lots of places.
But consider the results. Most kids who try the diet at Hopkins can go back to normal food after 2 years, never need drugs again, and remain seizure-free.
I see results like I've been seeing. There's so many encouraging words talking to other parents that have been on the diet, and it works.
I'm coming to get you.
Jim and Charlie returned to Los Angeles, where Charlie thrived.
I'm coming. Here I come. Here I come. I'm coming. I'm coming to get you. Here I come.
No longer a zombie on medication, the seizures were gone. But the story doesn't end there.
All of a sudden your eyes open up in the middle of the night, and you say, wait a minute. You know, this didn't have to happen. 90% of these seizures didn't have to occur. Waking up around the clock and pouring drugs down his throat didn't have to occur.
Jim was angry and puzzled that none of the 6 doctors he went to for help ever mentioned the diet.
What has stopped Charlie's seizures has been in existence for 70 years. It's been sitting there. It was waiting for him.
You had some knowledge that this diet was probably working back at Johns Hopkins, and yet you dissuaded the Abrams from attempting it. How come?
Well, because I don't think we had exhausted all of the medical approaches yet. There were actually still other medications that we hadn't tried yet.
Dr. Freeman tells us that 50 to 70% of the patients that come through his doors and get put on the diet have success. Can you think of any drugs in these hard cases that have 50 to 70% success rate?
Probably not anything that comes up to that level.
So why are modern doctors ignoring this diet? Charlie's own doctor has a surprising answer.
There's no big drug company behind a ketogenic diet, and there probably can never be unless somebody starts marketing sausage and eggs with cream sauce on it as a drug.
You're saying that in a sense, one of the reasons that the ketogenic diet is not popular at this point is because there's not a big drug company behind it selling it to the doctors.
I think that's probably true. I hate to say that, but I think it's probably true.
It does not come in a pill form. It cannot be administered with a scalpel. And the only people who profit from the ketogenic diet are the patients.
When we left the Abrams family in 1994, Charlie was 2.5 years old, and the seizures had stopped. But as Jim would soon find out, Charlie's life, as well as his own, were about to change forever. And it could change. So what's happened after this report? Coming up, Jim Abrams is going to tell us, and the bacon and eggs diet. Stay with us. And now the conclusion to our story.
Hollywood director Jamie Amos has found a way to stop his son Charlie's previously uncontrollable seizures with, of all things, a diet considered mostly a fatty foods. But as the family would soon find out, what soon would be a great medical treatment was not always a miracle cure. So what happened to Charlie? Once again, here's John Larson.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Charlie.
It had been 2 years of the so-called eggs and bacon diet, and Charlie Abrams was feeling great. His parents, Jim and Nancy, couldn't have been more pleased.
Our experience with the diet was he was seizure-free and drug-free, and his EEG, which had been a mess, cleared up, and he was healthy.
Under the plan, most children go off the diet after 2 years to see if they have outgrown the disease. So in 1996, when he was 4 years old, it was Charlie's turn.
The lore of the diet back then was that if a kid has done as well on the diet as Charlie, that you can wean him off the diet, then it'll be fine.
Right.
But that wasn't our experience. We took Charlie off the diet, and his seizures came back as heavily, as profoundly, as destructive.
As many and as violently?
Yeah, as violently as initially.
In that same year, one seizure was so bad, Jim and Nancy rushed Charlie to the emergency room, fearing it would cause brain damage. After all they'd been through, the Abrams were back to square one.
So we called Dr. Freeman at Hopkins and said, that was a refresher course we weren't interested in taking.
Dr. Freeman had 3 suggestions. Do nothing, put Charlie on drugs, or put him back on the diet. Going back on the strenuous diet meant endless hours of meal preparation for the Abrams. Every bite had to be measured down to the gram. The right balance of high fat, high protein had to be exact. But for Jim and Nancy, the decision was easy.
So we instantly put him back on the diet, and a day later his seizures were gone.
Once again,
as dramatically, his seizures were gone. He was just fine.
The Abrams would try to take Charlie completely off the diet again 2 years later. But before we tell you more about what happened, you should know that as much as the diet was changing Charlie's life, it was transforming Jim's as well.
A father's desperate struggle to save his son from a...
Jim says the original broadcast of Charlie's story was like the breaking of a dam. Tens of thousands of emails and letters from families with epileptic children flooded Jim's office.
And one of the letters that we got from somebody who was on the diet and saw Dateline that night was a true story about another family who had found the diet and had to go through extraordinary circumstances in order to get their kid on the diet.
Jim contacted the family. The mother shared their story, and what happened next could only happen in Hollywood.
And, I actually got to call her up one day and say, Meryl Streep is playing you. And we made a movie about the ketogenic diet.
What do we got here?
In 1997, Jim told their story in a made-for-television movie, First Do No Harm. Once again, the diet was on the national stage, reaching families whose doctors had failed to tell them about it.
When he was on the drugs, he was a zombie.
Families like Jim and Jennifer Southerns of Palmdale, California. All 4 of their children suffer from epileptic seizures. After seeing Jim's movie, they first put their eldest son on the diet.
We went from 30 a day to none, almost.
The seizures were shrinking, and it was less, it was unbelievable. We were like, oh my God. We were really happy, but we were also saying, we could have did this a long time ago. We could have not went through that years of drugging him.
They put their other 3 children on the diet as well, and again it worked. All 3 seizure-free.
I was really mad when we found out about the diet, because we were like, wait a minute, we didn't even get that option. No one even came and said, okay, you can take this medication, but there's also this diet, so we can sit down and make the decision.
But that is changing, as increasing numbers of doctors no longer consider the diet alternative therapy, but an accepted form of treatment. Even Charlie's first physician, Dr. Shields, is a convert. One recent study supports what the creators of the diet had known. that the diet is 50 to 70% effective in reducing seizures in pediatric epilepsy where drugs no longer work. Which may be why Jim Abrams, the Hollywood movie director, has written a new script. Not for some movie, but for his own life. He no longer directs Hollywood blockbuster comedies. He has chosen instead to dedicate himself to spreading the word of a diet.
How is the new life different from the old life?
I don't want to ever minimize how much fun it is to sit in an audience and hear the laughter when you've made a comedy movie, and you know, you remember the day we thought of the joke.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Can you remember refining it, filming it, and now you can sit anonymously in the audience and hear the laughter, and that's wonderful. But to pick up the telephone and be able to talk with someone who says, I got my kid back, and you were helpful in that, you know, there's nothing quite like it.
It occurs to me you're still in the business of making people smile.
Yeah. Hopefully, yeah, that's true. You know, that's a much broader smile. You know, that's certainly a longer lasting smile than please don't call me Shirley.
Thank you for allowing me to appear before you today.
Jim now lobbies Washington for epilepsy research.
It's really all about the dietitian.
And runs seminars nationwide for families and doctors. Diet pioneer Dr. Freeman has joined Jim on the lecture circuit.
Jim was the engine that drove this and that enabled us to do the work to bring the ketogenic diet to a conference like today.
But back in 1998, when Charlie was 6 years old, the Abrams were still trying to wean their son off the diet. And again, Charlie's disastrous seizures returned. So the family tried one last time when Charlie turned 7. This time, it worked. Charlie has been seizure-free ever since, and he now can eat virtually anything he wants to, just like other kids. Charlie is now an active 10-year-old in 4th grade. And on this day, performing at his second piano recital. The song, A Gift to Be Simple.
So what was that like, to listen to that and to think about what he's been through and how this has played out?
Yeah. It was a long time ago, but it's still...
You haven't changed that much in
Charlie has an older brother and an older sister who have had no medical problems. And, you know, we took very much for granted each stage of their development. With Charlie, each new step of development is a new miracle. And to watch him play the piano and smile and perform the way he does, to us, that's another miracle.
Jim Abrams has set up the Charlie Foundation.
After that story aired, there was a YouTube channel dedicated to this, and I can say, after that report aired, I mean, they did great. And with his son, it's the story of the Charlie Foundation. I mean, if your child has seizures, I recommend this ketogenic diet. It can help with your child's seizures, and after 2 years, they can be weaned off the diet. So, a great story to talk about. We'll be right back. I mean, a great story to update you on right after. So, it's just the other way around. We'll be right back with our viral break. You ever think about taking a good nap, but then right in the middle of it, your mom tells you to get your ass up, and then you accidentally say what you're not supposed to say, but then you take it with an ass whooping? In tonight's viral break, some clips that just make you, it's just a very good musical. I will just let the 3 clips do the talking. First off, is just the original.
Your ass up, 10 more minutes, almost finished. Get your ass up, mow the lawn and do the dishes, shut the fuck up. No, wait, Mom, I didn't mean it. You done fucked up. Know what you said, now take this whoop. Get your ass up. Get your ass up. 10 more minutes, almost finished. Get your ass up. Mow the lawn and do the dishes. Shut the fuck up. No, wait, Mom, I didn't mean it. You done fucked up. Know what you said, now take this whooping. Get your ass up.
I think I get the picture. I think we have time for one more yet. Here's a question for you. Here's a question for you. How many times, I mean, this is very dead to that. How many times has your child told your mom to shut up? And the reaction is like, there's just some reaction. Oh my God. And the reaction is like, don't you ever say that to your mom. You don't ever talk like that to your mom. Well, take a look at this. These were all TikTok videos. All these TikTok videos were about saying shut up.
Buddy, will you?
Just take a look at a few.
Hey, buddy, will you clean your room for me?
No, shut up.
Oh. What? Have you lost your fucking mind?
That's right, I said shut up.
Nasia. Nasia.
Oh, can you shut up? I'm trying to make TikTok.
What?
You're not even my mom anyway.
Wait, baby, we're joking.
What?
We're just joking.
Y'all gotta stop playing.
Eli?
Yeah?
Did you take that stuff out of the dryer?
Shut up!
What?
Shut up!
KK, can you go give me the blanket downstairs, please?
Mom, I'm trying to play a game.
KK, I said go give me the blanket.
Mom, shut up! I'm trying to play a game.
What the fuck is
Shut
that?
up, bro! Mom, I'm trying to play
Junior! Did you clean your room?
What?
Have you cleaned your room?
No.
Why not? I told you to clean it earlier.
Yeah, no, dude, shut up.
pendejo! It was a joke!
Tony, the waters! I already told you!
Okay, I'm coming.
Hurry up! The waters.
Okay, down. Be quiet.
It's a brand new
Shit out of you.
Toby, can you fix, Lucy's bed?
Could you shut up?
Excuse me?
And this last one's one of my favorites.
Will you get them clothes at the dryer?
Shut the fuck up! You always tell me to do something!
Dang! You better shut up right now. Alright. I don't know what we got if you come up Monday, so we'll probably think of something. That's all this edition of Give Me a Break Saturday going to Sunday. We'll see you again if you Give Me a Break Monday. If not, we'll see you again if you Give Me a Break Wednesday. All about safety. Follow us here at YouTube. Have a great night.